It's 6 a.m., and all is quiet on the Indiana Northeastern Railroad. But that's all about to change. On the railroad, almost every day begins like this one, in the maintenance facilities. Travis Bloom is the mechanical supervisor at the Indiana Northeastern. His father, Terry Bloom, founded the Little River Railroad, which operates steam excursions on part of the Indiana Northeastern's Michigan Main Line. Like his father, Travis takes great pride in his job and has a passion for railroading. Today, he is inspecting Indiana Northeastern GP30 number 2185, which is one of the historic second-generation locomotives to be used on today's grain train. On Saturday, April 12, 2014, the 2185 acted as the fourth diesel locomotive on the massive 92-car-long train. The lead unit on the grain train was a history-making foreigner on the Indiana Northeastern, KCS SD70ACe, number 4124. The small community of Hamilton is located along the former Wabash 4th District between Montpelier, Ohio, and South Milford, Indiana. On the north end of the railroad, the Indiana Northeastern operates over the former Fort Wayne and Jackson Railroad to Bankers, Michigan, and then uses the New York Central's old road between Hillsdale and Coldwater, Michigan. In EDON, Ohio, the train stops to pick up a few more cars. EDON is a small farming community located a few miles east of the Indiana and Ohio border. The Indiana Northeastern Railroad began operations in 1992, evolving from its initial operation as the now defunct Hillsdale County Railroad. After 20 years of steady growth and rehabilitation, the railroad has become a key shortline player in the region. KCS SD70ACe number 4124 was built in 2007 by EMD and is rated at 4,300 horsepower. At this time, the locomotive was being used in Norfolk Southern's power pool due to a shortage in their own active locomotives on the roster. The second unit on the train, Indiana Northeastern number 1601, wasn't online because of electrical issues. The GP7 locomotive was built in 1952 for the Reading Railroad as number 614, being used in the states of Pennsylvania and New Jersey on heavy freight trains. The locomotive became part of Conrail's roster in 1976 and served on the Conrail system until the early 1980s before being sold off to the Hillsdale County Railroad. It operated on the Hillsdale County line for about 10 years, becoming part of the Indiana Northeastern's roster in 1992. Around noon, the crew tied the train down to break for lunch at a location called West PERGO, Ohio. This gave us a unique opportunity to view and photograph the locomotives. After their short lunch break, the crew returns to West PERGO to take the train into Montpelier Yard. The third unit is Indiana Northeastern number 1073. It was originally built as an Illinois Central GP9, being rebuilt later on by the Paducah shops in the mid-1970s. The locomotive class is famous for their frog eye headlights. After 20-plus years on the Illinois Central, the locomotive was sold to the Gulf and Mississippi Railroad in the mid to late 1980s. The GMSR sold the locomotive to the Mid-South Railroad in the early 1990s, who then sold the locomotive to the Genesee and Wyoming's Utah Railway. The 1073 operated in Utah for a few years before ending up at the Indiana Northeastern Railroad in the early 2000s. The fourth and final unit on today's train, GP30 number 2185, was built for the Reading in July of 1962. It was owned by Conrail from 1976 for a period of 20 years. In late 1996, it was then sold to Larry's Truck and Electric for leasing service to shortline railroads. Power-hungry in the early 2000s, the Indiana Northeastern acquired the 2185 from Larry's and began operating the vintage locomotive on their system ever since. At Montpelier Yard, the train rolls by the former Wabash Freight House before interchanging with Norfolk Southern. The passenger depot was damaged by an arson fire in the early 1980s and no longer exists. Without the Indiana Northeastern's steady flow of manifest and grain trains to the Norfolk Southern, Montpelier Yard probably would not exist. The short line is a testament of success for the branch lines that have been forgotten and sold off by the major Class I railroads. Once a division point on the Wabash, Montpelier had a large roundhouse and maintenance facility. Today, the yard is a mere shell of what it once was. Before building and opening their own maintenance facilities in Hudson, Indiana, the Indiana Northeastern Railroad once stored their locomotives in a small engine barn at Montpelier Yard. When this video was filmed in 2014, the barn was being used to store Norfolk Southern's maintenance of way equipment.
Got some pretty power today.
After interchanging with the Norfolk Southern, engineer Kevin and conductor Jeff tie down the power and call it a day. Almost a year later, we return to the Indiana Northeastern with snow on the ground. Today, the 1073 was leading a short manifest train to Hillsdale, Michigan, with Department of Transportation GP40-2 number 2000, which is on loan to the short line for cab sound testing. The locomotive is dressed in ACL-inspired livery and is quite liked by the railroad's crews. Fremont, Indiana, we caught the train slowly making its way up the steep grade through town. We would then catch the train at track speed just south of Ray, Michigan. At the town of Reading, we shot the entire train as it ran by our camera. The train would later go through Bankers before arriving into Hillsdale. Thank you for watching Delay and Block Productions. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great railroad media just like this.